Wait, why was
Acid
Schultz?
shark
What did
cities.
Schultz do?
Just said, hey, did you hear that?
I mean, at least I remember to bring my laptop. Let's just. Oh, I thought that was like.
No.
I thought that was like
I don't know.
a different.
You just said it was in
I
his
don't know
group
what I
chat.
thought.
Oh, must be true.
But it was recent that it just came. Wow. I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
Super intelligent.
All right. Today we're talking management functions and principles. Exciting. Right? Very exciting. So, I know we've talked about it a few times. What's the difference between management and leadership in your professional opinion? Don't blow again. We don't have to think that. What's the difference? Management, leadership. Is there a difference? Is it a Laney diagram?
I can make one. No. The management is just making sure stuff is going well, so you just manage it and maintain it at a level that's already been set. But leadership is pushing people to go farther than they think they can, and moving forward towards a constant new emerging goal.
You can't come up with new ideas as a manager.
Well, you can, but it only means
you can only do exactly what's said.
There's you maintain at a level of what's supposed to be there versus leadership. You can you
There's
influence
no planning,
people.
no organizing. Just do.
It's all in the diagram.
It's all in my diagram. They're in the notes.
Management's doing things right, and leadership's doing the right thing.
Oh, well played, well played. Try that. Try to follow that, Rich.
I was gonna say leadership inspires. It's nowhere as good as that.
I played that.
He was pulling that out of class 1, I think. All right. There are a lot of similarities, right, between leadership and management. And when we're talking about these management functions, we're going to talk about leadership and leading within that. And I appreciate what you're saying about management, and that is a lot of it. And honestly, that's a lot of what you will do as officers on active duty, where you've got a set routine. You're making sure that it gets done safely, so we have safe mission accomplishment. And there's not necessarily a lot of, wouldn't it be great if we did this or this? Generally, you need that time to reflect and come up with new and innovative ways of doing things. Sometimes we don't give ourselves that time. Unless we do episode 21 here with Mr. Gaffney. All right. So we're going to be talking about what we're looking for, explain the concepts of efficiency and effectiveness as they relate to management, 4 basic management functions, differentiate between 3 primary roles of the manager, universality of manager's job, examples of general and specific managerial skills. Awesome. Great. All right. Managerial environment. What is the manager? Individuals of an organization who direct the activities of others, right? Pretty simple. Does that make sense? And when we're talking about the organization, systematic, i.e. the structure, arrangement of people, leaders, followers, to accomplish a specific purpose. Simple? Simple enough? Yeah. Okay. That's management in a nutshell. Process of getting things done effectively and efficiently. Yes? Hopefully. So, can somebody give me an example of maybe when something in military history was done effectively but not efficiently? Right.
Well, I guess the Civil War with General Grant, he was effective because he won, but his tactics a lot of times aren't very efficient. You just send people that problems.
Okay. 20,000 people dying a day is probably not efficient. Yeah. Certainly not compared to today. Could you imagine if we lost 20,000 U.S. soldiers on the battlefield of Afghanistan? Oh my God. That would be crazy. It was effective, right? It was effective. The North won in the Battle of Northern Aggression. Any other examples? That was a great one.
The one you went over in class last week about flying across the country and then going back overseas and
Sure.
then coming back and going all the way back to California and they kind of just cut off that cross
Yeah,
country flight.
absolutely. It was effective. Got the mission done. Got the cargo and passengers to the fight, but definitely not efficient. Okay, I like it. For our construct and what we're talking about, though, certainly the best way would be efficient and effective.
So, an example where it'd be efficient but not effective, would that be like when, like during the Vietnam War, like everything was based off like statistics. So like based on that, it should have been like this was the most efficient way to do it, but that didn't make it effective. Like with sending troops and all that we learned about.
Maybe like maybe the entirety of the Vietnam War. It was efficient. We won every battle. Almost every battle, but in the strategic effectiveness of the war, it was fight up for down. Good deal. All right. You guys got a word. All right, management functions. Another circle, huh? We like doing things in circles. Makes sense. We're going to start up here with planning. Right? With if we got a problem that we're trying to solve or how we're going to do things at work, we got to have a plan. Yeah, we'll go over that. Organize ourselves into an effective fighting force. Got to lead there. And then we got to have control features, right? To make sure that we're doing the right things. Anybody see a little bit of 8-step process in here? Yeah. A little looping. All right, planning. Basics. First thing we got to do, define our goals. All right. We have to have an idea of where we want to go. Establish a strategy to get there and develop that general plan. We got to check what kind of constraints we have on resources. We got to know what we actually have in order to complete our plan. Got to answer the what, where, when, and why. And we got to keep it up to date, right? No plan survives first contact with the enemy. Anybody ever heard that before? Yeah, no. All right. Change is inevitable, right? Any plan that you have set was probably set off of past experiences, but it's kind of theoretical, right? Until that plan comes into action, you don't really know how it's going to change. All right, so when I showed up at Travis Air Force Base in 2007, I knew my squadron commander, and I walked into my office, and he said, "I'm so happy to see you." And that was so cool. I knew it right from the get-go. He had me pegged for something. And that was that in 2008, we were going to deploy as a squadron. Hadn't done it at Travis. There had never been a squadron deployed. And so, but I got to. He was like, put this on Greg. He used to do it. This is my, the first crew that I had one. I think that's on the ground in Palau, or Baghdad. I think it's Baghdad. So, first things first, when I was planning, and when I, obviously it wasn't just me, there were a lot of people. Had to understand the mission. What were we going to need to do? We knew what the missions were going to be. We were going to be flying, again, cargo, passengers, needing to get stuff to the war fighters. Okay, and with anything in the Air Force, that needs to be safely. If you can't accomplish the mission safely, it's pretty much a fail. You know, when we go back to efficient and effective, no matter how efficiently you do it, if it's not done safely, it's ineffective. Desired result, right there, get the stuff to the fight, but do it safely. Operating environment, we knew we were going to be flying into combat, but there were some other constraints that we had, where we talked about resource constraints. We didn't have 100 C-17s and 1,000 pilots and loadmasters at our disposal. We only had 4 jets and 18 crews, so we had to be smart with our resources. Also, we were supposed to be flying out of Turkey, and about a month before, maybe 2 months before we left, we found out that Turkey was going to shut down the runway. So, figure out where else we were going to fly out of, right? So we ended up flying out of Mildenhall, out of England. I know it's really rough. 2 months out of England and 2 months out of Turkey. But constraints on our resources. Analyzing the operating environment. Involve others in the planning process. We, as a flying squadron, could not get out the door without help from other entities. Maintainers, make sure the jets were ready to go. Trainers, our simulators, we had to make sure that we were all qualified. Medical technicians, to make sure we were physically fit, ready to go. So there were a lot of different entities. Logistics readiness, make sure we had all our stuff, our sleeping bags and all that wonderful stuff. Lots of different entities that were in the planning process. Dividing the project into manageable portions. I'll talk about that. I'll show you how we did some of the how the planning was going along, especially as we were getting ready to go out the door on the deployment to make sure everyone was ready to go. Key objectives we kind of talked about already with understanding the mission and focus on the desired result. Alternate courses of action. Remember coming? Still. Yeah, so our initial course of action, we're going to operate out of Incirlik, Turkey for 4 months, and it's going to be great. What happens if something happens to that airfield? Okay, well, we had to have a different course of action. Operate out of Mildenhall, and we ended up operating out of Kuwait also. So we had to have a different course of action. They came up after the initial planning, so we had to change our plan. That's just part of it. We did select the best course of action. Best course of action is eating cheesy bread in the alley outside of Incirlik Air Base Church. No, but it was delicious. And hummus, great hummus, lamb chop. Publish the plan. You got to communicate, right? You got to make sure everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Very important. And then modify it. All right. Organizing. What's the difference between planning and organizing?
Planning is generally more kind of hypothetical, like in the you do it beforehand, whereas organizing is kind of once things actually get going, you start getting things sorted out and pulling things together.
Okay. Anybody else? David?
Would it be like posturing for action? Which one? Oh, I mean, like getting ready for action.
So you got a plan.
Oh, I mean, organizing that.
So organizing is taking that plan and putting it maybe in a logical sequence.
The way I do it is I'd like look at my desk and it's all cluttered and I say it's my pens, my pencils, people are gonna go, and then that'd be my planning stage and organizing and keep putting it in my spots.
I would so screw up with you. I'd probably still use that.
It's kind of messy, right?
Okay, I think that's all good. Yeah, I think if like you have a plan and then the organizing piece is just that putting down, hey, where does this go? Where does that go? Put that plan into action. Manage it a whole order. All right. Okay, 4 of them. Determine the task, establish the structure, allocate resources, develop procedures. Eventually, that airfield in Turkey opened back up, right? So we had to I had to determine the tasks because we got to get back to Turkey. We're in England. Jolly old. Wonderful. So I had to determine the tasks. The tasks were, again, finding good dry erase markers. Was not one of them, but it could have been. I should. Really? Whacker? How many? I know this one's not correct. Oh, that's right. Okay. First things first, it doesn't. SMA. Safe mission accomplishment. Right? Everything's got to be done safely. I knew I had to get 4 aircraft, 4 jets, 18 crews, staff, cargo. We still had cargo. We were still having. So what would happen is wide body aircraft, 747s, would come in from the States, bring the cargo to Mildenhall in England where we were, or down in Insterlake, and they would get transloaded. We put it on the C-17s, and then we'd take it into combat from there. Okay, so that was part of the task too. When do we stop delivering stuff to Mildenhall and start delivering it to Insterlake? Kind of important, right? Had to establish a structure. That was kind of already there. We knew how we were going to fly, where we were going to fly. It was just how are we going to accomplish those. Allocate resources. Knew how many resources I had. 4 aircraft, 18 crews to make this happen. But I also knew that I had to continue the mission. All right. I not only had to it would be great if we could have loaded 18 crews on 4 jets with all our stuff and just flown from Mildenhall to Insterlake. But we had missions that we had to fly in Iraq as well. All right. And ultimately, I had to develop procedures on how I was going to do it. That's my procedure. What do you think?
Ooh.
All right. I don't know if you guys can you see that a little bit better? So this is a chart over time. All right. Here's time. It's basically 2 days. Starting at 1Z to 24Z, which would be 1 day, and then 1Z to 22. I don't know why I didn't have the last 2 hours. Don't have it. Each one of these lines is a mission that we flew. Okay. So on day 1, crew 1 took off out of Mildenhall, went downrange, Afghanistan or Iraq, or BI. I think it was Baghdad International. Went to Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and then they would hop off the jet. Crew 13 would grab the jet after he got eyes and E's, cargo, and got the fuel. Go back into Iraq, and then back to Mildenhall. Okay. Did I move any crews or jets to Insterlake? Because I got to move everything to Insterlake, right? No, I didn't. Yeah. But that was our regular flow. But what you can't really see in here, these black ones are as I move tails to Insterlake and crews. So we were able to I don't even remember how many days it was. I think it was over a week. We were able to still fly 4 missions a day, getting cargo, passengers to the warfighter, and also move 18 crews from Mildenhall, generally through the Deed, to Insterlake and the Four Tails. So nothing was left in Mildenhall. And Jets never break, and so we had, it was great. But it worked. It was awesome. I had my fingers crossed the whole time. So that was the procedure. So that was the organizing piece for how we did that. Yeah? Crazy? Any questions? Go ahead.
What's eyes and E's?
Eyes and E's, inlets and exhausts, engine checks.
I just had a question. You were talking about some of the tasks. You said wide wing aircraft to fly into the base.
Wide bodies?
Yeah. Are those Air Force planes or are those like contracted out?
Contract.
Okay. And did you ever get stuck waiting on them to like get in on time? Because you were stuck from them.
I think generally we had enough cargo in the cargo yard. They would be far enough ahead that even if one got canceled, we were still able to fly missions. And then they would get caught back up. Well, there were some times when we had to cancel missions because of the lack of cargo. But they were usually fairly reliable. They had their own system. Yeah. What else? Does this hurt your head? Alright, leading is a part of management. So got to motivate others to do what we need them to do, right? We need to select the most effective ways to communicate what we need to get done. And there's probably multiple ways. And we also have to resolve conflicts because there's always conflict, right? Always. Yeah. So how do we control? So everyone, I throw up some old stuff and y'all are like, who's this? And I throw all this stuff up like Terry Tate. Yeah. Who doesn't know Terry Tate? I knew it. Everyone who hasn't seen 300. I'm just kidding. What is controlling? In this context.
Like the people working for you aren't free to be like independent and do their work. Like you're like helicoptering and checking them at every step to make sure that they're doing what you want. Like it's the work you want done that you're just having other people do for you versus leading. Well,
think chemistry. Think a control. What's a control in chemistry?
It's where you know the results. Like you do it so you know that
you know where you want to get.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a control function that helps you get there. Same thing here, right? We're making sure we're going along as we go along to make sure that we are going to get to our end state correctly. And then those control functions are going to help make sure that we stay on that path. And that's what we're talking about with this. It's going to help monitor our performance, turn our results with whatever standard we're looking for, and we may have to apply. There is one swear word in here used several times. Thanks.
When we asked Reebok to send us Terry Tate, some people thought we were crazy. But I'm a firm believer in paradigm breaking, outside the box thinking. And since Terry's been with us, our productivity has gone up 46%. More employees than ever before.
You know you need a cover sheet on your TPS report. Richard, that ain't new, baby. Hey,
What's really interesting is how Terry's become part of the Felcher family. He fits right in.
That's a long bitch call, Doug. What's up, y'all?
That's not to say that Terry's gone soft. He still does what he does best.
Wow! This ain't your home! So don't let this nigga vote, brother! This close to the city like baby. Sure, Jack, do rules. I give him a sometimes it's about intimidation, you know. It's mind games. I'll see you later.
This environment is, in fact, a violent world.
Snap back from a dick, bitch! You can't hurt these. I want to say it, dude. I'm good for that, son. Wow! You give me corn. I'll be here. Wow! You must be out of your mind, son.
To be honest, I wish I had 10 Terry Tanks on TV culture.
You killed it, Joe. You made some up. You know that, baby. I swear for a long day. All day. You're so pain. I mean, this bitch. I don't got time for pain. The only pain I got time for is the pain I put on fools who don't know what time it is. When it's game time, it's pain time, baby. Wow! You can't walk away from the K-22 baby jam. You must be out of your mind, son. And do I enjoy what I do? Hell yeah. You get a meal, baby.
Staying one man, they can take at least 2 weeks vacation.
Just because I'm on vacation, don't mean I'm not the lunch I come to play, baby.
With Terry back, everything quickly returned to business as usual.
Hey, John, how are you? Hey, you cake, fella. That's a Rose cake. You eat someone else's cake again, and I'm gonna give you a slice of plain special plain cake, and you won't. I'm sick of that. You can take the fish out the sea, but you ain't ever gonna take the line back out of me. Believe that.
RTC would be so much more effective.
So we should count push-ups.
Yeah.
Three.
Sometimes Alright. Back to that. I'll have that.
You're right.
Okay. So this is. What was some of the control? With the Cherry Tate? No. Like where's Yeah, absolutely. Anybody know what kind of chart this is called? Stoplight chart. Any idea why? No, you're wrong. I'm colorblind. Now. Absolutely. So, how do we, right? We're looking to make sure that we stay on the standard. So, 2 charts that I used for that when I have to go brief the group commander was the stoplight chart. And then I'll show you a glide slope chart that we used also. That was a metric. So what this was were a bunch of ground training items that we had in different events for the pilots, the co-pilots, and the loadmasters. And that was just it. And it would walk through, and this would be a monthly update. Where are they compared to, we started training in November, and we're leaving at the end of February. How close are we getting to our goal, which is 100%?
Why is dental below 50%?
People are brushing their teeth.
Because nobody Well, because everyone had to have an annual dental inspection, but not everyone, at least by this point, had gotten it done. It could be, but we were in California. Yeah. But there could be, it could represent issues, and that's a great point. And that's maybe what the group commander would say. What's going on with that? Well, sir, 5 of the dentists are deployed right now. We've only got 1 here, and they're backlogged for X number of months, whatever. And then he might go, oh, well, let me call the dental group commander or the med group commander and see if we can shake another dentist loose so that we can get you all greened up and get ready for the deployment. Great reason to show a stopwatch. All right. Any other questions with this type of analysis? No? Okay. We talked about that a metric tracking something over time. All right. Well, this one was flight physicals. So we started back here in November, right? And the pilots are doing pretty good. Co-pilots are doing well. Load masters are right on the line. This glide slope is going to show us, yep, at the end of February or close to the end of February, we need to be 100%. And this just kind of showed, every couple of weeks where we were. And then when we saw maybe some individuals falling behind, we could say, hey, y'all are behind. Let's get going on these. Or it might show that we again have an issue with the process itself. Maybe the individual giving the flight physical is over their capacity. Good. See how this was a control? Getting us back to the standard. Standard's the green line. That's where we want to be. Be good? Alright. Military tape. Would it help with the load masters? Sometimes that's all they'll listen to. Right? And you don't have to deal with it. Not a lot of load masters in there. No? Any questions or another loop? Alright. Different managerial roles that you will face. We'll talk about each one of these. Interpersonal skills, or where situations you might be in. For me, figurehead. This morning we had a meeting with the provost and the building planning committee for campus. They're looking at potentially building a tri-service building, by 2022 or something. And they were rank ordering the priorities on campus, not because obviously we're not the only ones who want money. The Cal's wanted a greenhouse and some other things going on, right? I was at the meeting. Service dress. Guess how much I said? Nothing. As a figurehead, right? Just like the Army and the Navy commanders that were there as well. We weren't there in any other kind of a role. We were still kind of in an interpersonal managerial role because we represented something, but weren't, really necessarily doing any of the true leadership or maybe a little liaison that would have to speak. Leadership, I get to do that on a daily basis, right? And running the detachment, making sure you all become the most outstanding second lieutenants this Air Force has ever seen. Liaisoning, same thing. I liaison with the other ROTCs on campus to make sure that we're making a similar product. If there are things that we can do in the joint environment, like the joint no law. So those are 3 interpersonal roles that I have in management. Yeah? Alright. Informational. Monitor. Who monitors? Every day, right? You get more emails than you can read. Sometimes, Schweitzer, you got to send out information. You have to disseminate twice a week. An email. Spokesperson. Who needs to be the spokesperson? Could be a flight commander. Could be Cadet Val. I think the Cadet Wing Commander maybe has more of a spokesperson role than the flight commanders who are more in that front line supervision situation. And of course, there are decisional roles as well. Coming up with new ideas. Disturbance handlers. That's where Terry Tate comes in. Resource allocator. Making sure everybody gets what they need. And finally, negotiate. All right. These are pretty exciting. Universality of the manager's job. So, who can tell me, in any given organization, an example of how a manager's job is either universal or maybe changes as you go up and down in leadership in an organization? Anybody think about their work environment?
I guess like in an auto shop, you have like the shop kind of overseer or manager, and he's usually a mechanic.
Okay.
And he'll, if another mechanic who's maybe not skilled or doesn't have the same amount of training, will come over and maybe show him with his hands. Where the next guy up, that kind of like the larger floor manager, he kind of talks to the service writers, the parts department, and that the shop manager. And if there's bigger problems, he goes into that kind of area. And then he has his boss, who's kind of in charge of like selling cars and all the salespeople, and then everyone else too. So kind of like where it goes from more hands-on. And like, well, here's what bolts you wrench on, and then like this is where we need to have quotas in the specific things. I want you to do it by this example.
So the lower level is if we look at those four sections of management, they're more in the leading aspect, right? Like you said, they are going to be right there with the other mechanics and maybe showing them what to do or how to do it, making sure day-to-day operations are run. They're leading, right? And as you get higher, you're probably doing more of the planning aspect. Yeah.
I was thinking like in baseball, there's the manager that manages the players, and there's the general manager that finds players and trains players.
And deals with more upper management. Yeah. And having to do more of that. Okay. How about profit versus non-profit? Similarities, differences? Probably a lot of similarities, right? Where for us, the end outcome is mission success. Of course, for most commercial businesses, yeah, bottom line. You might be doing everything perfect, great output, but if it's not efficient enough, maybe, you might lose your job. Where for us, as long as we do it safe, sometimes efficiency is a nice to have. Size of the organization. I think that's kind of similar to, well, it's all scalable, right? Pretty much. Yeah. Look at that. Man, I couldn't have explained it any better than that. This is just looking at our four sections of management again. Looking at it from the first level manager to middle to top managers. So what do we see? Sure.
Less leading and more organizing.
As you go up. Yep. I agree. Anybody disagree with it? Everybody needs the same amount of territory. Pretty good. Managerial skills. We got general and specific. Give me some examples. We'll go around the room. Why each? Just tell me why you think each one's important. Start with the top, conceptual. It's pretty obvious. I guess you have to coordinate the activities and data. You have to have that ability to organize, to coordinate. And lead. Okay. Interpersonal.
People with interpersonal skills, the people you're supposed to be managing or leading are likely not going to listen to you.
Yep. Who's good at understanding? Are we all good at that? Or how many people like to be understood before they understand? How many people, when they hear someone saying a problem, oh, I know what you're talking about. I had the same thing, blah blah blah. Right? If they want to be understood instead of trying to listen and understand what the person's talking about. No? Am I the only one? Yeah, good interpersonal skills are absolutely imperative. That's why you didn't go to the academy. Choice?
Technical, so like, I mean, the people you're managing are probably gonna have questions about how to do stuff, and you need to know how to do all the specific like tasks of the job that you yourself have to do and like that your people have to do, and if they have questions and stuff.
We talked about the legitimacy piece, right? Legitimacy, credibility. You may not be able to do everything that your airman can do, but if you can show that you at least understand and appreciate what they're doing, and maybe you've got some skills that you can pitch in on, even if it's shuffling paper. Show that you can. Yeah. Technical skills. Political.
I'd say this kind of like, since you're the manager, you're speaking to help people under you, so if you, I don't know, to get something like they need, you need to go to someone ahead of you and be able to establish the skills to get what you need from people ahead of you.
Okay. So it could be vertical, like you're talking about. It could be horizontal also, right? I put CGOC down there. Anybody know what that acronym is? Company Grade Officer Council. So each base will have a company grade officer council, and not everybody participates, but it's, second lieutenants, first lieutenants, and captains getting together on a monthly basis for, whatever reason, camaraderie, have a couple beers at the club, talk about their terrible bosses, things like that. But what you can build that way is, hey, I know Andrew, who's over in logistics, and I know Chad, who's in maintenance, and I know Chef, who's in personnel. And if I've got an issue with the military personnel flight, this airman, I can't. They're just not getting through. Hey, why don't you call Chef? That's great. Or maybe your boss. Even more importantly, your boss is, man, I'm not getting the love that I need from the unit deployment manager. Oh, sir, let me see if I can work something. And what you got? Oh man, I'll take care of it. All right. Oh, look at you solved it. Amazing. Yeah. So there is a little bit of. That's the only part of politics that they're saying with this in general school. All right, specific. Miss Lange.
Why it's important.
Yeah.
Well, you need specific skills because, depending on what you're doing, if you can have, a very broad set of skills, but if you don't have, the specific skills for what you're doing, you're going to be struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to, know how to, things that fit the issue. Yeah.
Just start one with first controlling the environment.
So you need to.
Why is that important? How do you do it?
Controlling the environment.
I'm not talking the weather.
Yeah, no.
the temperature in the room, because that's easy. That's on a rheostat.
I think it's just like maintaining like the atmosphere and like the like place you're working, like keeping the standards and stuff. If you just like let people do whatever, then it ends up like if you don't have control over the environment and what everyone's doing, then it can like slack off and people can
You
get
can bring military tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna make it fun though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Ice cream on Fridays, maybe. Yeah.
and cheese curds.
Zucchini bread on Mondays. Yeah. Good. That'll go a long way. Cheese curds. Chef.
The organizing and coordinating part, I think, kind of goes back to, like credibility, kind of, because if you as like a leader or a manager aren't organized and you're not kind of like organizing the plan, then like it's not going to be followed. So then kind of like all goes out the window, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. You may have a goal or a mission that your boss gives you that you've got to accomplish, but if you don't help your group organize into a systematic way of doing it, you may end up using a lot of resources you would need, or it may end up taking a lot longer, right, than it should have, because you didn't stay organized or you weren't organized. Okay.
Handling information is important because if people tell you things and you don't do anything with it, then like if somebody's telling you a problem and then you decide to not do anything about it, then that's the problem's not gonna get fixed.
Okay. Have we talked about emails and face-to-face communication at all in the workplace? Yeah. What do we talk about? Which one's better? Which one's worse? Is it a combination?
I feel like it depends on what it is, because if it's an email that says I need to talk to you and it doesn't really specifically say what it is, then that would kind of make people panicky. But if it's like a face-to-face thing, then I feel like it could be better because that means that they're taking time out of their day to tell you something important.
You may do a lot of communication with email, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much standard when you get to your work environment. You're not going to use Snapchat with your maybe, hopefully, nothing like that. But that face-to-face verbalization is extremely important. Or maybe even picking up the phone. You'd be amazed how many people I pick up the phone and they're like, why are you calling? Because I want to talk about it. Well, why didn't you send me? Because I like personal. It's good. Lots of different ways to handle information. All right. Next one.
Right, growth and development. You have to have some sort of goal to keep pushing forward and not to get complacent. So having a skill set where you can be motivating or inspiring to keep pursuing something is good.
Okay. Yeah, we've got this mission that we need to do, right? But if we're just doing the same thing day in and day out, not learning new skills, not doing professional military education, not doing all that other stuff, we're never going to develop and we're going to get stuck in a rut and nothing's going to change. Right? So we got to make sure that we and our airmen are continued to be given growth opportunities, learn new skill sets, and keep them developing. All right. Travel.
Motivation. People work harder when they're motivated and keep them moving forward.
How are you going to motivate?
Give them incentive.
They can do push-ups. That's motivating, right?
They're like, oh, if you get so and so done by this time, we'll have a pizza party.
Are you going theory X, the soft approach? Give them donuts. Is it motivating if you help them solve the problem? Maybe. Talked about that, right? Like theory Y now. You got a lot of smart airmen. Smarter than me, smarter than you. Some of them.
And for the second part, handling conflicts, handle them before they get to be a big problem.
True.
Or they tend to be a big problem if you don't handle it.
How does transparency work in there with the handling conflicts?
Make sure you're not doing anything shady so they know how you're handling it.
Yeah, that's difficult sometimes, right? Because you want to be transparent, you want people to see
Some stuff you can't share with others, but you also don't want rumors flowing, right? With how this was happening or that was happening. So making sure that people, you're communicating with individuals is really important. So that, like that. Andrew.
I'd say it's like in the manager position, you'd have that general kind of understanding of all the different aspects of, all the other jobs underneath you, and you'd have a large amount of that information kind of coming towards you. And as a manager, you should be able to take some of that and kind of build a broad, almost like selection of ideas to fix problems, and you'd be in a position to call like experts in the fields as well. Just so you kind of have a good prime real estate in seeing the problems and then kind of seeing where they're going to happen.
You got to keep looking forward, right? Whatever, year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Where are we going? What kind of problems are we going to have in the future? Let's start solving them now, where we can be proactive instead of being reactive. All right. Let's philosophize. Air Force management perspectives. A philosophy. Management is a command responsibility. We talked about command, right? We talked about that little pin that commanders wear. You, as lieutenants, will be put in charge of things, right? And you might be able to accomplish it, you may fail, right? Ultimately, the responsibility of whatever happens is going to fall on the commander. Alright? That's why your commander will always be in your chili. Okay? It's not that they don't trust you. They are ultimately responsible. Make sense? Alright. These, let's see. Managers must achieve greatest effect with available resources, efficiency, and effectiveness. Right? These last two. Tenets of air power, right? Anybody remember the main tenet of air power? Did you do tenets of air power?
Mass, earth maneuver.
Yeah, that's
Centralized control.
Centralized control. Decentralized execution.
Execution. 2 years, I got that.
Done. Absolutely, those are the last two. Policies are just how do we take those philosophies and make it happen. Commanders need to ensure the effective management of human, material, and financial resources. We get the decentralized execution with centralized control. Yep, got it. Yeah. Any questions? No? Anything for the group? Next week's Turkey Week. Does everybody have someplace to go? Anytime you going someplace?
Next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going back to New Jersey.
Oh, you are? Oh, good.
Nice.
Good deal. Everybody excited for Monday?
Oh,
Sure.
Should we invite you out?
yeah.
To detachment pilot? Oh, that's right. You're always invited, buddy.
That's good.
6 o'clock on Monday.
That's good.
All right. If no one has anything, you're good to go. Have a good evening.
I said, I feel like a pretty big deal, but